If you're sweating through your sheets, waking up at 3 in the morning with a racing heart or feeling like a burst of anxiety, this video is for you. Whether you're postpartum, menopausal, or somewhere in between, those hot flashes can be quite difficult to navigate. Hi, I'm Dr. Evelyn, your naturopathic doctor and traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. I had hot flashes in my 20s and it was no fun. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why your thermostat glitches and, more importantly, what you can do about it. And if you want to learn more, join my free school community where you get access to the first module of my hormone mastery course. Let's get into it. Your body has a built-in thermostat in your brain, which keeps your core temperature within a safe zone. Estrogen widens that safe zone, so you're less reactive to sudden changes in temperature. So when estrogen drops, that safe zone narrows, so now you're more reactive to tiny shifts in temperature. Now, I experienced this when I was 23 because I had PCOS. And though I had estrogen dominance because my progesterone was super low since I wasn't ovulating, in absolute terms, my estrogen was actually also low. So I was experiencing hot flashes and other symptoms of low estrogen. Now, in menopause, the estrogen naturally goes down and stays low. And in postpartum, it sort of crashes suddenly after birth. Now, the estrogen lowering is not the actual problem. Those are expected changes and normal changes that happen both in menopause and postpartum. The real problem is that if your system is dysregulated, you've lost all the backups that can keep your brain steady. These issues were being masked when estrogen was high, but now that it's low, the cracks start to show. But the good news is that all these backup systems can get back online. So let's walk through all of them, why they get dysregulated, and what you can do about it. And for this, I have my whiteboard. So, the first thing we're going to look at is your circadian rhythm. Now, this has to do with your body knowing what time it is. You have a master clock in your brain that synchronizes every process in your body. And the biggest signal for that clock to know what time it is light. When that clock is well aligned to nature with sunlight and darkness, it allows your body temperature to follow a certain rhythm. Your body, that set point that we talked about, that thermostat, is not fixed. It changes between day and night. During the day, it's okay to be a little bit warmer. You're more active. Your temperature is supposed to be higher. And at night, the set point goes down and you're supposed to cool. And there are two elements to this. You have the thermostat itself, which sets the temperature, like if you go to your own thermostat and set the temperature you want, and the actual mechanisms to keep you at that body temperature. So the actual heater or cooler. Now, if the set point and the cooler or heating mechanisms are out of sync because the body doesn't know what time it is, then you could be producing heat when your thermostat is lower. And because your threshold is now more narrow because you have no estrogen, you're going to be experiencing things like hot flashes. So what we want is for the thermostat and the cooling or heating systems to be aligned. And for that, we have to be in alignment with your circadian rhythm, with the natural 24-hour cycle of sunlight and darkness. So one of the biggest things that you can do is minimize your artificial lights and expose yourself to natural light as much as possible. The other way that your master clock can also tell time is through routines. So being consistent with bedtime, exercise time, and meal times can really help enhance the rhythm of your circadian clock. Now, within this circadian rhythm, there's one particular circadian hormone that is super important for hot flashes, and that is melatonin. Now, everyone knows this as the sleep hormone because it is released at night, but it's actually key for preventing hot flashes and to get deep restorative sleep. Now, melatonin itself tells your brain to cool down through various mechanisms, like it dilates the superficial blood vessels to dissipate heat, and it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. This is the rest and digest system, which slows everything down, relaxes your muscles, so you're not producing as much heat. This coordinated effort to cool you down makes you more resilient, even when that safe zone is narrower because of the lack of estrogen. The modern environment is full of artificial lights, like screens, LEDs. Especially bad is the blue spectrum of this light because it directly increases cortisol, which suppresses melatonin, preventing this cool down process. So here are a few things that you can do to maximize your own natural melatonin. First thing is to get about 15 to 20 minutes of early morning sunlight. First thing that you do when you wake up is go outside without any sunglasses and just be in natural light for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Ideally, this happens before you look at any devices or any other artificial lighting. Next is to sleep in complete darkness. Black out your room, even indicator lights on things like ACs or heaters or humidifiers. And lastly, try to avoid artificial lights after sunset as much as you can. You can do this through switching your regular lights to red incandescent or red LED. If you don't have access to red incandescent, you could use candles, or you can use blue blocking glasses like the ones I'm wearing. And ideally, try to avoid screens as much as possible. This will allow your melatonin to rise naturally and cool you down through the night. Next in line is your blood sugar. When your blood sugar is unstable, you get spikes of blood sugar, but then what really is the problem here is the dips that come right after. So when your sugar drops below a certain set point, your body sees that as a stress, as danger. And what it does is it activates your fight or flight system. This secretes adrenaline and cortisol, and it prepares you to flee. So it actually increases your muscle tone. It brings all of your blood to your vital organs. And all these produces heat. So when your set point or your thermostat has a narrower set point, this small increase in heat can trigger hot flashes. And as we learned in the previous section, cortisol, which is part of this reaction that you're having to bring your blood sugar back up, suppresses melatonin. So if this is happening later at night, it could have a double effect. It increases your heat production and it suppresses your cool down processes, leading to more hot flashes. So what can you do to stabilize your blood sugar? Well, number one is to focus on protein and fat. This is especially important during breakfast so that you can set yourself up for success. Second one is to lower your carb load. If you don't eat any carbs, you won't have any spikes. Now, if you do want to eat carbs, eat them strategically. For example, after a workout or as a treat after meals. You also want to watch for food sensitivities because if you have an inflammatory response to a food, that sometimes can trigger a glucose spike, leading to then a dip and a hot flash. And lastly, if you can bring your meals outdoors, that can also might help. Infrared light has been shown to lower your blood glucose post-meal, and sunlight is almost 50% infrared. Next up is stress. Now, low blood glucose that we just talked about is a form of stress. So all other types of stress are going to result in a similar biochemical reaction, where some kind of either physical or mental stressor is triggering the fight or flight, releasing again cortisol and adrenaline, which generate more heat, and due to that narrow threshold, it can result in hot flashes. So managing your stress is super important here. Things like breath work or grounding can be very helpful, but if you have a lot of stress in your life or unresolved trauma, that is something that you need to address in order to solve this problem. Next up is GABA. Now, GABA is a neurotransmitter that helps cool you down, similar to melatonin. It helps quiet down the heat-generating side of the brain, this fight or flight side that we just talked about. It allows blood to circulate to the surface so it can dissipate heat. It relaxes the muscles so you're not producing as much internal heat, and it actually supports melatonin signaling, further supporting those cooling mechanisms. GABA can become low when there's gut disturbances, there's stress, there's circadian disruptions, and blood sugar dysregulation, sort of everything that we already talked about. In order to support GABA, we already talked about circadian regulation and blood sugar regulation. Other things that can support GABA include magnesium and B6, which are cofactors for it to work properly, avoiding stress and constant stimulation, especially at night, and looking at your gut if there's any symptoms there. Next up, we have neurosteroids. Now, these are hormone-like molecules that are made in the brain. One of the most powerful ones is called allopregnanolone. This is a common neurosteroid, usually made from progesterone. Now, during menopause and postpartum, our progesterone goes down. However, our brain can still make it from DHEA. Allopregnanolone acts as a booster for GABA, which we just talked about. It reduces anxiety, it supports deep and restorative sleep, and it calms the thermostat and reduces internal heat production. Now, this local production is quite fragile. It depends on healthy mitochondria, since all these steroid hormones, the DHEA that is used as raw material, is produced in the mitochondria. So sunlight, circadian rhythms, and blood sugar regulation are going to be very important here. You also need to have enough cholesterol and enough B vitamins. Now, if you're on a statin, that could also be a problem. It also requires an environment that isn't inflamed. So there's a lot of inflammation going on that could be disrupting this as well. And lastly, the endocannabinoid system. This is a built-in system to help you keep everything in balance. It helps regulate the stress response, appetite, mood, inflammation, and yes, temperature control. Most of the other systems that we talked about, like melatonin, GABA, neurosteroids, help you cool down and keep your brain calm after a heat trigger. But the endocannabinoid system actually widens the set point, kind of like estrogen does. Now, this means your body can become less sensitive to small changes in temperature, stress, and blood sugar if the system is working well. Now, this system can get dysregulated through stress, poor sleep, and nutritional deficiencies. So how can you support this system? Number one is through omega-3 fats. These are very high in things like fish, egg yolks, and grass-fed beef. You want to avoid seed oils because they're high in omega-6 and they compete with the omega-3s for the endocannabinoid signals, and it weakens it. You want to increase regular sunlight and movement, both of which increase endocannabinoid production. You can practice slow, rhythmic breathing, which will also help with other areas like stress. You do want to avoid excessive cannabis use because this can downregulate your own production of endocannabinoids. And you do want to prioritize sleep. The endocannabinoid system is tightly related to the circadian rhythm. So if you've been told that hot flashes and mood swings are a normal part of getting older and all you can do is use synthetic hormones, now you know there's more to the story. Your thermostat isn't broken, it just needs more support. From light to blood sugar control to GABA and melatonin, for real actionable steps you can take to restore balance and feel like yourself again. If this resonated with you, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with another woman that needs to hear this. And if you want to go deeper, I invite you to join my free community where you get access to the first module of the Hormone Mastery course. I'll guide you step by step to rebuild your rhythm and restore your energy. I hope to see you there, or I'll see you in the next one.